delighted to have you join us here on ITV for TMI this promising Wednesday. We at Mofwegbe. Let's begin the discussion this morning on TMI, the issue of infrastructure development in our country and where it has left us. I'm expecting two guests on the program. Incidentally, I'm already seated with one. I'm expecting Barrister Friday Ogiriaki, former member of Edo State House of Assembly, but as it stands right now, the leader of the legislative arm of Ego local government is already with me on the program this morning. Honorable Kindness Emegare, it's good to have you on the program.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Great. You are a politician, obviously, but then again, we're
politician.
Exactly. we've come to understand that for us to move this country forward, we're going to need more than politics and politicking.
Yeah.
And a lot of persons have strongly recommended leadership.
Yeah.
How do we start providing leadership in such a way that we start seeing significant change in terms of how we develop our country?
We must establish, first of all, thank you for having me. First of all, let's establish that if you repeat a thing continuously, you are bound to begin to have the same results.
Right.
Therefore, in the choice of leadership and the things we have to do to ensure that things begin to run differently, is we must have a shift from how things used to be done in terms of the choice or the process through which this leadership or leaders emerge. I think that's the first way to go. To see that round pegs are put in a round hole and not square peg in round holes. That's the first way to go. When the process that produces the leadership is not faulty, if it's transparent, if it is a process where the best is gotten and not necessarily those who have one backbone or one backup or the other, we can begin to get things right.
But it will appear as it stands right now, sadly enough, our system doesn't encourage those who are independent in the manner of speaking. Instead, it will appear you've got to have a backbone, I'm borrowing your word now, for you to be able to secure a position of leadership, which makes it difficult, almost impossible in most cases, for us to provide effective leadership once we get into elective and appointive offices.
Well, somebody must be responsible for a change. If it is wrong, it is wrong.
Right.
You can't get to the right destination going the wrong way. If we have to have it done, that is like that just now,
right,
doesn't mean that it has to continue that way. The right thing has to be done. And that change, the shift from the norm that we are all used to, must begin with you and I.
right.
The young persons now must begin to take the destinies of this country in their hands and not just stay aloof to say that, okay, I have nobody to help. You must take the steps. And the time will come when you begin to hit it, when you begin to do it, get it done, and be determined to ensure that in spite of the challenges you might face, because doing something new, you are bound to have challenges, because people are ordinarily just resist change, trying to get them to move away from where they are used to. You should expect resistance. But the key word there is determination, consistency, continually consistency. And you see that things will change.
Let's realign our focus for this discussion, the issue of infrastructure development in Nigeria.
Yeah.
I mean, you have, I'm sure, taken out time to also observe how we're developing in terms of infrastructure. What's your assessment of the state of infrastructure in this country as it stands now?
We must admit that it is not yet uhuru as far as infrastructural development is concerned. But we must admit also that the process of having a change has begun. And that is what we are about getting into by way of getting into the elections. Choosing the right persons into the right offices government employing those who are capable, who have the will and the know-how to do things right. Because just now, in my assessment of the infrastructural development in Nigeria just now, it's not how or what we expected. Looking at the seeming economic and economic viability of the country. We are endowed with enormous human and natural resources. But if you look at the endowment that the country is blessed with, vis-a-vis the developments in infrastructure that we are seeing right now, we will say that we haven't gotten it right. The right things are not being done just now. But Nigeria as a country is in the right direction in my assessment, and I believe that we will get it.
Let's look at what some persons have called a case in Nigeria where, of course, we have government in place, but there's little or no governance. How do we create a convergence where, while we appreciate the fact that there's government in place at every point in time in this country, at least starting from 1999, for example, we also have governance in such a way that effective, forward-looking leadership is provided with regards to developing infrastructure?
Well, I am one person who believes that government is elected and put in place to effect a change for the betterment of the society. And I am one person who believes also that we cannot begin to apportion blames for failure of government or governance. But that being so, we cannot also shy away from looking at those who have handled our infrastructural development as a nation and how it has been handled in your world since 1999 and what has happened since the last administration or this present administration. Yes, we cannot continue to take Nigeria backwards to say that those who handle this infrastructural development over time might handle things and did things, in their own way. But government must take responsibility. That is what governance is all about. Taking responsibility. Doing things that you are elected to do, because things were wrong in the first place.
Right.
That is why we effected a change. And just now, the change Nigeria expected, to my assessment, has beginning to take place. It may not be very visible yet, because what took some time to destroy must take some more time to face. So government is in the right direction as far as I'm concerned. And I believe that the government must begin giving a chance to see that infrastructure in Nigeria is in place.
I think it's a good thing that in your narrative just a while ago, you made allusion to the blame game that we have come to see in the last couple of years. Some persons curiously have asked, what's the place of blame game trying to pin blames and pass buck, especially with regards to previous governments? For instance, in cases where you won't hear names of former presidents, Olusegun Obasanjo, Yar'Adua, God rest his soul, and even the immediate past government led by Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, being mentioned as being those responsible for the decay we've seen in this country so far, especially in the area of infrastructure. Going forward, how does that change the narrative for the better? How does it improve our infrastructure?
To continue to get involved repeatedly in the blame game can't affect the change that we want to see. Like I said, it is about taking responsibility of where you now find things and how things are. Like I said, it is because it was wrong in the first place. Just like in the management of your institution here. If those handling things here are not getting it right, and you bring in a new person, it is because you have enormous confidence in those you have brought in.
Right.
That is why you fired those who were handling it before, because they were inefficient. And now that you have a new set of money, that one must look at the difference. Why those who handled it earlier failed, the things that they didn't get right, and how they handled it. And in looking at these things, it may take some time. And setting a blueprint for the institution and the infrastructure that we want to see, that may take some time. I don't believe that we must continue to engage in the blame game. But I don't also believe that we must rule out and completely ignore the decadence and the wrongdoings of those who reap and rape our economic destinies. And just say that, okay, now that we are here, we must get things done. Yes, we must get things done. But we must refer to those who destroyed the economy and our infrastructure. So that is what I think we...
Before I let you off, lastly, let's look at the issue of election cycles in this country. Yeah. Of course, overall, every 4 years, there will be elections in this country, general elections, as we've come to know them. Why is it that every election cycle, we get to hear the same issues? Road, rail, power, health, education. It's like a vicious circle of sorts. And if you look at the last election, and then the one that's upon us now, essentially it's the same discussion, the same issues, the same items, from one campaign point to another, from one rally to another. What's slowing us down?
Because the young people, those who now have the technical and the will to do differently, are shying away from responsibility. Thanks to Mr. President for the Not Too Young to Run bill. That has now expanded and created more room for young persons to come up with initiative, fresh technical know-how. Because those who were doing it 35 years ago seems to be the ones still doing it today. And when you continue to repeat wrong things, you continue to get wrong reports. When wrong persons continue to handle things, the wrong people, you continue to get wrong reports and wrong outcomes. So the youths like you and myself must take the initiative, must be bold to take the bull by the horn, and throw ourselves up for elections and take the place of leadership in this country. While I also agree that we must not throw away the experience of the old, but we must not totally be dependent on the experience of the old, which of course may have gone, which of course is no longer in vogue, so to speak. We must take it and look at it with fresh research development, fresh brains, fresh ideas, merge it with the ideas of the whole, and come up with something new. You will see Nigeria moving forward.
So in a nutshell, as we go into this election now, it's going to change the narrative for the better.
I hope so. I hope so. I hope Nigeria understands where their destiny lies. I hope that the youth of this country understand that their destiny ultimately depends on what they decide to do. If it is a man who has given you opportunity to express yourself as a young person, right, or those who have made up their mind to consistently put you in your cocoon and not allow you to express yourself as it were, I think the narrative will change if you and I, the young persons, come out during elections, throw up themselves for election to get people elected and be elected.
Okay, I think that's what we're going to leave it.
Thank you very much.
Emeka Areyosaboye, leader of legislative arm of local government. Thank you for coming.
Let me add
right,
that there is hope for this country.
Of course, we all believe that.
Let me add that it is not yet late for us to harness the economic and human resources of this country to sing a beautiful Nigeria.
I think that's
And that is possible.
I think that's something to hang on to for today and every other day. Once again, thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's move on to the next segment of this discussion this morning. I'm joined by Friday Ogirahi, legal practitioner and former member, Edo State House of Assembly. Good to have you on the program.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be back here.
Great. Let's just go straight to the discussion. The issue of infrastructural developments in Nigeria. Of course, you talk about roads, you talk about rail, and so on and so forth. What's your take so far as to how much we have recorded, how much of success we've recorded in developing infrastructure in this country?
First, I would say that in comparative terms,
Right.
from when we attained nationhood, as it were, when we gained independence, political independence, at that point in time, we had leadership at, a level that you could say was committed to infrastructural development, improvement, renewal, and sustainability. Because at that time, there was an outlook, there was an economic outlook that required that there are infrastructural facilitators that had to be put in place. When you talk about the granite that had to be moved from Kano, for instance, to the ports in the west. You have coal that will be mined in Enugu in the eastern part that had to be taken out of this country and of course through the port, as it were. So that necessitated a program of action that sought to develop the railway system. Although we also borrowed that from the colonial masters. But as it were, when that leadership came, they tried to sustain, they tried to build on it, and at a point, all of that collapsed. And ever since that time till now, like I said, comparatively speaking, I would say that we have not had a leadership, that has shown commitment towards provision of infrastructure, development of infrastructure, be it road, be it health infrastructure, be it educational infrastructure, be it security infrastructure. So we can be said to be a country in deficit of infrastructure. Our country is in deficit of infrastructure. There is no reason, for instance, why in this age and time you still find potholes in our roads, potholes on our road, highways, like we will have find in this very popular and busy Benin Lagos Road. Because if you are talking about infrastructure, you are not only talking about creating infrastructure, you are also talking about maintenance of infrastructure. So you have to put in place arrangements that will ensure that we haven't built gargantuan infrastructure, as it were. You also have to put in place an arrangement that will ensure that they are maintained, as to ensure that the purpose for which they were first designed is not defeated in the long run.
Right.
But what do we have to blame for this? It has to do with the near total absence of vision on the part of our leadership. Because when a leadership is in place, it prioritizes what should be its focus. And infrastructural provision is a non-negotiable responsibility of government. With the argument that people will usually want to re-echo is that government have no business being a business.
Is that correct?
I do not agree with that.
Okay.
I do not agree with that. And assuming we even want to concede that, but you cannot relate that to issues of infrastructural provision, because that one is a focal responsibility of government.
So that's exclusive to the government?
It's exclusive to them, largely exclusive to them. Albeit that they may now enter or hire services of expertise that will do all of these things. So what I'm saying in essence is that it has not, there's a lot of confusion in the arena, the government arena, as to what they actually want to see Nigeria become. The kind of infrastructure provision that we need to run the system. Because infrastructures are necessary to run a system. And what system do we have? What is our economic projection? What are the infrastructure we need to have economic revival? Do we need good roads, for instance? I would say, yeah, we need good roads. But do we have good roads? And my answer would be a clear no. Because you find all over the place. Take, for instance, my own local area. There's a federal government road there that has spanned over 2 decades of deterioration. Whereas, like I said, government before now thought of that road, and they saw that it was a road that could bring out the agricultural output or product from those areas, and they considered the road. But leaders, government after government, have not deemed it fit to ensure that that road is continuously put in a motorable state. I'm talking about the Benin-Abraka road. And what has that done? It has led to stagnation of development, economic and otherwise. And to even make the matter worse, or even more ironic or tragic, is the fact that that road also leads to the oil wells, the oil and gas wells, gas reserve in Edo State. And that is a federal government road, and that is the federal government that benefits from the oil production. They have never deemed it fit to ensure that that road is given priority attention. And that one is just an example of so many roads that have fallen into disrepair, and perhaps many more that ought to have been created. Well, we're not even talking about creating new roads now, but we're also talking about maintaining existing ones.
For the purpose of this discussion, let's narrow down to the last 19 years. That is 1999 till date. Have we been able to change the narrative for the better, taking advantage of the return of democracy to Nigeria in 1999?
The fact, like I said, it has been a story of regression or retrogression. It has not. We have not seen a government that is in a haste to surpass what their predecessors left on ground.
Okay.
I will readily be one person that will credit the government of the PDP at the time for Edo State, I mean, when they thought about the Benin bypass,
right,
that we are now all enjoying. And that government also put in place what we all known as FEMA.
Okay.
An agency that is responsible for maintenance of roads and all that. That, as it were, is still a dip in the ocean. It's still a dip in the ocean, because we ought to have seen more of serious infrastructural revolution. Because the reason why Nigerians actually campaigned against continuing military government in this country was because they felt that if they took over government themselves, they would be able to do better for themselves. But I will tell you without mincing words that it will seem that some of us are now looking back at the military era with serious nostalgia, because development that is where seems to have been made to take the back seat in the priorities of the present day government. Politics and politicking, as petty as it were, seems to be the major focal point. Because as it were, you will agree with me that in terms of you want to look at all the issue from sector to sector by sector. You want to look at educational sector. Can you point to any higher institution, let's say a university, that can compete in terms of infrastructural provision with the university like OAU that was built in the 60s, as it were, which was ranked as one of the best in the entire African continent? So if we had a leader that could think, could envision that kind of an institution creating an enabling environment for educational pursuit at the highest level. Why then are we having a situation whereby government by mere declaration, as we have it in Edo State, for instance, we can more relate with what happened in our place. A university was declared by law into existence. A former college of education in Ekadolo was by law declared to be become a Tayo Akpata University of Education.
By way of upgrade.
By way of upgrade.
Right.
Upgrade is not by sermonization. It's not by rhetoric. It's about what the preparedness. It's either we are ready to do the needful, or we are not ready to. We are not ready at all about it. It is not sufficient. That's the point I'm making. It is not sufficient to engage in government program in a way to suit your own personal aggrandizement. It is for you to see that as part of your own educational vision and policy, a University of Education, properly so called, is needed in Edo State.
Right.
In which case you will be ready with everything that is required, including the capital that is necessary to ensure that that institution is put in place and is running. Some days ago, I read a report about protests concerning the fact that that singular policy proclamation that institution will be upgraded to becoming a university, the vision, the inherent vision in it has not been realized, because they have now witnessed degradation of infrastructure that they even had before. They have seen that it is just an attempt to glorify that institution and not necessarily to actually ensure that the necessary provisions are made to ensure that the right kind of education is acquired. Then you talk about health. We talk about health. What have we done concerning our health institution? The fact that your number one citizen, our number one citizen, still find it fanciful to seek medical tourism abroad is to tell you that they themselves do not have confidence in our health institution.
Is it about being fanciful or just a matter of mere necessity?
Well, I mean, it could be a necessity, it could be the fact that it is still desirable. It is still the first choice when it comes to patronage of health services for our own number one citizen to fly abroad to whether to UK or any other country in the world as against his own health facilities that's on ground. Don't forget too that the same number one citizen as we speak came to this very state to commission a hospital that was classified as a 5-star hospital that will compete with anyone in the whole world. And as we speak, to put a lie to that claim and assertion, that hospital has remained under lock and key. And when Mr. President, who also came here, we proper pediatric ceremony to commission the hospital, fell ill. He never deemed it necessary to come patronize the hospital he commissioned. That is hypocrisy, and that is lack of commitment, and that is lack of patriotism, because a leadership that is prepared to transform his country to meet and compete with international standards will not indulge in that kind of thing.
There's an element in this conversation I don't think we should neglect, which is finance or funding, if you will. You need money to build infrastructure and then, of course, maintain and sustain, as you said just a while ago. The president met with the outgoing British High Commissioner to Nigeria just a Monday, 2 days back in Abuja, and in the course of their discussion, one of the things they said was that between 1999 and 2014, which of course is a 15-year period, Nigeria had made so much of money, yet we accomplished almost nothing with regards to infrastructure development. And he is saying that now we are constrained financially, I mean in terms of funding, yet we are doing little with so much. Ironically, in the last 15 years, between 1999 and 2014, we had a lot and we did little or even nothing. Funding is a constraint, granted, on the one hand. But again, let's look at those 15 years the president made allusion to. Did you really accomplish much? Can we say with facts, for instance, that the funding that came in at that time, because of course oil was doing well for the better part of that period, did we have commiserate outcomes compared to the money the country made at that time?
I would readily agree that looking at what God has blessed this country with within this period, what we have made from oil revenue alone, that we have not received what you may call a commensurate services for that resources or money that came into the country, as it were. And that is largely because of what this government, came into power talking about. And that is the fact that they have said, and we know, as a matter of fact, there will be a lot of pillaging, prodigious pillaging and looting, lack of accountability, wastage of these said resources. And why is that so? It is largely because we have been a nation, and we remain so, a nation that refused to plan, a nation where budgetary or appropriation, as it were, is merely a ritual exercise, annual ritual exercise. There is no indication that the government itself actually even understand what it has put on paper. And I have mentioned before that this country, as far as leadership is concerned, as far as government attending to infrastructural provision is concerned, is in a confused situation. So that let no man readily put the blame at the fact that, at this point in time, we do not have much. I can still tell you, and I will beat my chest to say that Nigeria is still making so much money from oil resources. But how prudent are we managing these resources? Are we prioritizing? Are we actually addressing the need of our people? How are we deploying this money? Is what matters. So it is a lame dog excuse for any government to sit down and say, because we are not getting so much now, that is why we are not handicapped at doing what we are supposed to do. The reason for me is not far-fetched. It has to do with the fact that first you must tell us, you must explain to us that this is our plan as far as education is concerned. I am one person that will, in fact, I have not yet met anybody in this present government, whether at the federal or the state, that has explained what their stand is, what their projections are, on how they want to, where they want education to be, the standard, the model they want educational infrastructure to look like, be whether at the primary or secondary school level. This is the standard we want. So we saw a situation here, because I continue to use Edo as a case in point, a reference point, because this is where I live. At a time, sometime, a government came, though in Bende, created a university. And that university was the pride of Bendelites, as it were, until Delta State was covered, and that turned out to be a legacy for Edo State. When we should be talking of how to improve that university, later named or renamed as Ambrose Ali University, rather than thinking of how to improve it infrastructure-wise to meet with the best in the world, we hurriedly wanted to pander to political interests and concerns by going to build an extraordinarily not cost-effective university for the state again. So that duplication for me is a manifestation of a government that has not put its act right. And why am I saying this? I talk about planning. You must first plan, you must first put in place policy trust for all of your sectors. You must put in place policy trust. And I might identify what kind of infrastructural demand that will make for the realization of the vision behind those services. If you do not put that in place, and you are only doing a trial and error kind of method, we are going to find ourselves in this same vicious circle.
Is that what we're doing, trial and error?
We are doing a trial and error, and we are doing things, you know, like I said, to service the moment. To service the moment.
So there's no long-term projection.
There's no long-term projection. No one. Ask them. Ask any one of them in government to tell you how they want our university to look like, how they want our hospital to look like. Telling you is not something you do as a form of hypothesis. It must be in concrete, black and white. It must be a government policy position from which nobody is allowed to derogate. And one person has often opined that the fact that government changes should not affect road construction, for instance. Before the government of Jonathan was sent packing, there was a project that was ongoing, talking about the Benin-Auchi road.
Right.
Now that a new government has come in place, I have not seen that work ongoing. It got to a point where that road became completely unmotorable. Even the present governor of Edo State, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, got stuck at the time in the mud that was created, the huge gully that was on the road. The fact that government has changed should not be an issue for road construction, because road construction is a facility and infrastructure that everybody needs and requires.
So continuity is a serious factor.
It's a serious factor. It has nothing to do with whether you are party Z or party Y. Road construction should be something that is hired out to expertise. Like I said, experts. Give it to experts. I believe it's one of the easiest responsibility, one of the easiest obligations that government can realize. Because it is not you that is required to do it. Your own is to provide the fund. But if they put money continually in road construction, where would they have money to loot? That is where I fought the present approach toward fighting corruption in this country. Put more of the money into useful endeavors. If we have schools that are going on, if Nigeria today is turned into a huge construction site, airports are being built, seaports are being constructed. We have had so much story about they want to construct Gele for how many years? Even there are easier projects that ought to be executed. We have seen people. I laughed when one of my friends came to me the other day celebrating that, oh, one senator has gone to commission some project. I said, what is the project, my friend? He said they are giving out keke na pep, what they call tricycles. He have built some toilet, public toilet. He have put some street lights somewhere. I said, my friend, that for me is begging the issue. We at this point of our so-called democratic journey, we ought to be able to apportion responsibility, properly speaking, in line with the doctrine of separation of power. A legislator at this age and time should not be seen beating his chest about infrastructural provision.
From your narrative in the last 4 years, I mean, it just essentially underscores misplacement of priorities, or maybe absence of it altogether on the part of government, doesn't it?
Absence, the misplacement of priorities, number one. The second thing is that we have not sat down. And for me, the first point of blame is not even perhaps the political actors as individuals. Because we operate a party-based democracy, we must challenge our political parties to invite ideologues, intellectuals, experts into formulating blueprints. I shouldn't be a member of a political party and I have an aspiration to run for an office. I am talking about red roof in my own locality. Another person talking about blue roof in another locality, whereas we are in the same political party.
So
there should be uniformity. There should be a guiding, like a Bible, that should regulate what the government you are intending to put in place, because the political parties are the factory that turn off the government.
Does your own political party understand that philosophy?
That, you see, I'm saying this without partisanship, without prejudice. I'm saying this, I'm addressing all the political parties as they are in Nigeria.
Okay.
Until we sit down as a people and give government marching orders, that people that we are sending to government to represent us, as to what our political party manifesto talk about, infrastructure provision for health, for education, for transportation, then we are begging the issue. That is to give vent to your question, having to do with the fact that what is actually the bane of our infrastructural retrogression. And I'm saying it is first lack of planning. We don't have a policy trust. We don't have a framework with which we are working. Everybody is just coming to try his own method. And that is why you see this semi-confusion, and that is why you see this retrogression. And I use the road issue. Our road, the very poor and pitiable situation of our road.
Because Nigerians can readily relate with that.
Yes.
I think we're just going to tie it up at that point. Friday Ogeraki, legal practitioner and former member, Edo State House of Assembly. We appreciate your presence on the program this morning.
It's a pleasure to be back here.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
It is obvious enough that as we go further into the general election, the issue of infrastructure development in Nigeria will form to a very large extent the thrust of discourse. And that's our program for today. I'm Uyag Mofwebe. I'll be back here tomorrow with another engaging topic on TMI. Enjoy the rest of your day.